What's up, comic and pop culture fans? This is James with Hunter Comics. I'm actually coming to you live from the antique shop here. I just got a little pocket of Strange Tales, Tales to Astonish, and Tales of Suspense in, and I was noticing the weirdest trend. Listen, the economy's already doing some funny things. We've got some crazy historical lows on some books, but I think this is the first time I've ever seen the non-key issues starting to sell for higher than the keys. Quick plug, I am coming from the shop. Guys, come visit me. If you happen to be in the relative close by area, it's worth your time. I got some awesome stuff here, but it's not just comics. The comics is only a tiny percent of the store. We got vinyls, we got this, we got that. Bring the wife, bring the kids. Everyone can have a blast here. We'd love to have you. What I'm gonna do is, as long as you get one item from any other vendor, I'm going to do 30% off any book $5 or under, which you guys have seen me price books. That's the vast majority of the shop. It genuinely is a really cool place, and I'd love to see you. So I spent the better part of today looking at specific runs in which I've noticed this phenomenon. Let me be clear. This is extremely abnormal and is not actually indicative of what's going on. I don't know if this really means anything. I tried to attach it to some sort of hypothesis about how maybe some keys are so oversaturated and most people don't have the non-key stuff, and maybe that's why that stuff is sort of more in demand than the keys. But I really couldn't find anything to tie it together. It's sort of a very specific run-by-run thing. 90%, if not more, of most comic book runs I was looking at, it's the case where the key, no matter how small, will outperform the other fluff, the bulk, the non-key issues. But I've noticed, especially when it comes to 60s, 70s, 50s, things like that, sometimes it not only blurs the lines in which some of those other issues cost the same as the keys, but also can sometimes even outperform the keys. So anyway, you can draw your own conclusions. I already tried to, and it looks like it's just an oddball thing. The first one I'll give you an example of is Swamp Thing. Actually, funny thing is you can take your pick, volume 1 or volume 2. Now, there are some big keys like number 1, number 37. So ignore all the giant, major, big keys for a second. Look at the little small keys. Go on Key Collector, find the little keys. I'm actually finding near mint to mint issues of Swamp Thing books that are actually selling higher than what some of the key ones do, especially in the early 70s. With the Alan Moore stuff in the 80s, I'm finding this too, that a lot of the quote-unquote the keys are matching that of the other fluff. In fact, many examples of the fluff far exceeding. This could be people trying to fill their runs. Maybe those are just specific issues they need. I don't know if too many conclusions should be drawn from this. This was the first one in my research that came up, so I had to mention it. Next is going to be the late 70s to like 1985 Amazing Spider-Man. A really small pocket, I found this to be the case with Spider-Man. And I think that's because a lot of the Spider-Man keys in that pocket aren't that expensive. Again, ignore any big key. We're talking about mid-level and small-level keys, especially with the 70s stuff. I mean, I'm seeing some of the non-key books go for $20, $30, even $40 when some of the keys from that time period are going for like $10. That's pretty crazy. The keys are always hunted, and now you got all this fluff that everybody still wants because ASM is one of the most collected runs that they're trying to complete. Next, I noticed a little bit of a connection with some 70s horror, with some Werewolf by Night, Tomb of Dracula, and supernatural thrillers. Supernatural thrillers, Werewolf by Night, even some of those like the Frankenstein stuff. I'm noticing a lot of the filler issues doing as well as the keys. Not exceeding, but doing as well. And that's extremely bizarre. Think about something like X Factor or X Force or any major 80s, 90s, 2000s run in which you have these small keys. Those filler stuff, that's like dollar bin fodder, man. But the 70s, it's a whole different game, especially with the lesser print count stuff like the horror, like supernatural thrillers, Tomb of Dracula and Werewolf. Those are books I noticed that everybody wants all the issues just as much as the keys. It creates a pool of interest in the whole run rather than just little tiny pieces. Our first Silver Age entry is going to be Aquaman. This is one of the ones where there are some small keys in which I saw plenty of examples of the non-keys far exceeding the keys. This is a weird one too because Aquaman's not like Amazing Spider-Man. It's not nearly as aggressively hunted, and I feel like actually some of the keys are relatively unknown, but I am seeing a lot of the non-keys do a little bit better. Now, I think there could be a connection in which some Aquaman covers are just gorgeous. So I think people like some specific covers, maybe more than quote-unquote a cover of a key, and therefore the non-key stuff appears to be moving better when really it's just people hunting the best looking cover of Aquaman and willing to spend a little bit higher to get a nice looking copy. But I also noticed it with 70s Fantastic Four. And also I'm going to throw in, I forgot to write it, but I did notice this to be the case with 70s Hulk. Now some of those like $5, $10, $15, $20 Hulk keys and FF keys, I'm finding plenty of examples online of eBay solds of FF and Hulk books selling for pretty much the same as these keys. Now, I think this goes back to what I said about Swamp Thing. I think this is people who might be so close to finishing their run that they're willing to say like, screw it. I know the price guides say this stuff is only a couple bucks, but they go on there and they grab up the non-key book just to fill a run. And that might be swaying the data a little bit. You know, whenever you have people trying to fill a gap in their collection, they're typically willing to spend higher to get it. And the easiest one of all is eBay. And it might be swaying some of these lists. But regardless, it is still interesting to see some prices being sold for the same amounts as some of the key issues of that time. I only found just a couple more examples. Like I said, this is only a tiny pocket in which this is the case. I can't draw a set hypothesis from this and compare it to the rest of the market because I think it's an individual basis. Aquaman, it's about the covers. Werewolf and Tomb, it's about the low print count. The Amazing Spider-Man, it's about getting issues that nobody really has because everyone had previously chased the keys. So every single one of these is different. The last two I'll mention is Star Wars. We're talking about the original volume. There are obviously number 1, number 2, and some others that are going to outperform the non-keys. But a lot of those $10, $15 books, I do find near mints and mints selling for $10 to $15. Now, these are the same books that I have in my bins for $3. So it's kind of interesting to see that it might be that eBay effect of people just want that book. Maybe their local comic book shop doesn't have it, so they just say screw it and they go online and they dump more money than they probably should into the fluff. I think that does happen with Star Wars. I think that particular volume of Star Wars is so highly desirable in high grade too that people are just happy to get it. Even if it is a non-key, they're going to spend $10 or more. The last one is going to be early issues of Marvel Team Up. Marvel Team Up was a Marvel run in which you had a bunch of characters doing exactly what it sounds, doing a Marvel Team Up. Some small key significance in some of these early issues. And it's doing the same thing where some of these issues and some of the later issue runs when you're now steadily in the 80s goes for X amount of dollars, whereas I'm finding the bulk, so I'm seeing some sales, as long as they're in advertised mint, do seem to be actually reaching the same value of some of these other books. And that, by the way, is pretty much it. So I typed in so many different volumes just to see if this was a new thing going on. No, it really is pretty limited to this list. Maybe a couple other runs are doing this too that I just wasn't able to find. And frankly, I don't really have a conclusion to make for you guys. It does appear to be random, but at least it's good knowledge to know these particular runs, that maybe the bulk for those runs might be a little bit better than you originally thought. The price guides are still going to say that the bulky stuff is extremely cheap and that it's all about the keys. But for whatever reason, these runs, it's not quite the case. Some of that bulk is actually okay, looks like. Take it with a grain of salt, guys, because it could just be people needing that one book that they're willing to go $10 or more, and now that might be looking like the fair market value of that book is $10. It still could just be $1. So take it with a grain of salt. Draw your own conclusions, drop down below, and keep on hunting. Make sure to come on down to Sentiment Depot's Antiques and Collectibles, located at 238 West Delaware Ave in Pennington, New Jersey. Find so many great books for just $1 and the lowest prices on key comics around. Enjoy a huge selection of graded comics priced up to 20% lower than current fair market value. We are open from Wednesday to Sunday, closed Monday, Tuesday. You got a collection you want to sell? Bring that too. Can't wait to see you there.